So, therefore, we take the diksha, we get the mantra, the divyaganam, destruction of sin, and we get knowledge in the form of the Lord, and knowledge of relationship with the Lord. Okay? But by chanting Hare Krishna with no diksha, you can also progress, get divyaganam, knowledge of the form of the Lord, relationship with the Lord, and destroy your sins. So it's not just that diksha gives this exclusively, destruction of sin and divyaganam. No. The name gives it. Particularly, we should take the name and chant the name purely. So to chant the name purely, we also need good instructions. We need shiksha. So a guru can also give good instructions, and from that we can do Sudanam, chant Sudanam, and get very good divyaganam and destruction of sin. So either way we can get the destruction of sin and the knowledge. So Shiksha Guru as well as Diksha Guru can perform this function. Ultimately, destroying sin is not a big deal for bhakti. Because the holy name can do that, chanted accidentally, without a Shiksha Guru or a Diksha Guru. So, that's Papasa Samsham is not the main characteristic of bhakti actually. It is a secondary feature that arises even in Namabhas, without a guru at all, without any devotees, or accidentally even. So, the real function of bhakti and the mantra and the holy name is to increase the bhakti until it becomes prema. That is the real important aspect of our devotional service, not to destroy sin. So, the reason it's mentioned like this in the mantra is because diksha, divyaganam, and kshaya, samshaya, destruction of sin. Okay. So just to compare, diksha, you get the secret mantra, and you get your sambandhagyan through that, and then you use that mantra to do archana, worshipping the deity according to Pancharatric standards. Nama, meaning Hare Krishna mantra, does not require diksha. We also get a relationship with the Lord, sambandhagyan. This is called Bhagavata Marga, not the Archana Marga. And of the two, chanting the holy name is the Yuga Dharma, not the Archana. So actually there's a prominence of chanting the holy name. But the holy name doesn't need diksha. So, of course, we emphasize the Diksha Guru at ISKCON, maybe not so properly, but emphasize a lot, but actually Nama is more important. Now, of course, the Diksha Guru also gives instructions for chanting the holy name, so there's not a problem there, so he can have both functions. But actually, the chanting the name is more important than the deity worship, but the name does not require diksha. It does require shiksha, though. Okay. So just to summarize, Pancharatric Marg, we get diksha, chant the mantra, do archana, Bhagavata Marga with shiksha, nama, chanting Hare Krishna, kirtan, etc. Yuga Dharma. So then, we say, well, why do we have to get diksha at all? And why do we have to worship the deity since the Yuga Dharma is chanting Hare Krishna? So Jiva Goswami says, because of the fickle mind of the devotee, Archana Marga is often recommended along with Bhagavata Marga to engage all the senses of the devotee in deity worship, along with the chanting of the name. So we never give up the chanting of the name. Deity worship is an assistant to that. And if we don't chant the name, then we can't even do deity worship. It's not proper. So we have to chant the name. But it's a good assistant. Why? Because by doing deity worship, we engage all of our senses. So we can serve and do so many things for the deity other than just chanting. So if one can be fixed in chanting, fine. He does not need any other thing. But usually people are not so fixed, so therefore they require some other activities, so let them do deity seva. So the two things go very well together. Both are mentioned as as important angas in the nectar of devotion. We have 5 very important elements. One is chanting the name, the other is deity worship, the other is hearing Bhagavatam, living in the holy Dham and associating with devotees. So, deity worship is also quite powerful. In chanting the holy name, deity worship is useful because we see that even the Goswamis had deities. So they're chanting, and of course they had their pujaris and others build temples, or the rich people build temples, and the pujaris were there, were worshipping the deity, but they never neglected their deities. Why? Because in chanting, they become inspired by seeing that form of the Lord. And they see no difference between chanting the name Krishna and the deity Krishna. So sometimes we're thinking of, the name and the Lord, and His form, His qualities, and His activities are non-different. But we say, how is that? So, by chanting in front of the deity, then we see the form of the Lord, then we can realize the deity is non-different from the name. So it's a good method of equating the name with the form of the Lord, through seeing the deity. In Diksha, of course, the main element is the mantra. But in Pancharatra there is what is called Pancha Samskara, which is also mentioned in Gopal Bhatta's book, the Sakriya Sardipika, which means 5 purification elements. So we have Tilak, or Urdhva Pundra. We have Tapa, branding. You take some metal with Shankha and Chakra on and put them in the fire, metal, and you stick them on your shoulders and get branded. Usually not done in the modern day. Sri Sampradaya, Ramanuja people still do it. I think Madhvas also do it. You get a name like Krishna Das or Govinda Das or whatever, Govardhan Das. You get your secret mantras for the deity. So we get Gauranga and Krishna mantras. And you get the process of archana, you get instructions on how to do deity worship. So these are the elements of Pancha Samskar. Now, in ISKCON, we have something called 2 dikshas. And technically, you can only have 1 diksha. We have first initiation, second initiation. Actually, you can only have 1 diksha. So it's like a 2-step of 1 diksha, so to speak, where we get the name in the first part, and of course the tilak we actually get before that. And then in the second part, that is what we call second initiation, we get the mantras, and we're allowed to do archana. But technically, we have these 2 stages, so it's like the Pancha Samskar is divided into 2 sections, where we get the first part and the second part. Of which, the most important thing is getting the mantra, deity mantra, so that makes the diksha actually. Now, we have an extra complication here, because along with getting Krishna mantra, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati introduced another element. The reasoning is this. People criticize the Gaudiya Sampradaya because you got a lot of low-class people who aren't Brahmanas, and they start worshipping deities. So Bhaktisiddhanta says, no, the Vaishnava is superior to the Brahmana. So the qualification of worshipping the deity is not being a Brahmana by caste, but being a Vaishnava, no matter what Varna he comes from, or if he doesn't come from a Varna. If he is a initiated Vaishnava, according to Pancharatric Diksha, he is qualified. So therefore, when he becomes a Vaishnava, he's superior to a Brahmana. So, to show that, then he also gave the Brahman thread as second initiation, with a sacrifice and the Vedic Gayatri mantra, the Brahma Gayatri. So the person becomes twice born also at that time. So we have 2 dikshas. This is a Vedic diksha. And there's a whole samskar for that. That's called the Upanayinam samskar, which you take when you're a small child and you become a brahmachari. You get the mantra, you get the thread, you're qualified to study the Vedas after that point. So technically that's what's happening along with the Pancharatric Vaishnava Diksha. We're also getting this Vedic Diksha. But this is secondary. It's not necessary in one sense, because automatically we are beyond the Brahmana by being a Vaishnava. But Bhaktisiddhanta just introduced this to show that The Vaishnava is higher than the Brahmana and can do whatever the Brahmana is doing. So don't criticize that person. And so he gave everybody threats. So there's some sort of preaching mechanism. So the Vaishnava is superior to the Brahmana. But the actual element of the Diksha is this part here. That is secondary. It's for showing the caste Brahmanas who criticize that actually Vaishnava is superior. So these are the main elements, of which the main part is the mantra for Krishna. Okay, so to summarize, we have here what we call the first initiation, where you get your tilak and your Krishna das, and we don't do the tattva. And second initiation, we get the mantra, secret mantra, qualification for archana, or deity worship. Along with that, we also get the samskar for being made twice born. And with the Vedic Gayatri mantra and the Brahman thread for the men. Yeah? So, of course, and then there's a further element that we do in ISKCON and Gaudiya Math also to some degree. First initiation, then you also, the disciple makes a commitment to bhakti and to the guru and to ISKCONs, and vows to follow four regular principles, etc. and etc. So there's some vows involved also. And he also accepts that Diksha Guru as the main Shiksha Guru at the same time. Okay. So, previously I mentioned that Jiva Goswami says that Diksha is mainly for rich householders to do archana. So the implication would be, well, then not so important after all. But then he also says, usually we should do deity worship also. Because the mind is very fickle and this gives us good engagement of the senses in the body. So there's some other reasons also for Diksha. Like tracing the parampara in a very formal manner. We can do Shiksha, but then it's not always a clear formal who's the Shiksha Guru of who. But Diksha definitely there is. You got the mantra from this person, you got it from this person, you got this from this person. So you can trace the Diksha line back very clearly. So many of the Gaudiyas, not in our Sampradaya, we go through a Shiksha line, our Sampradaya, but other groups like those in Nityananda or following Advaita or Gadadhar, they actually base their line on the Diksha line, and they trace very carefully their Diksha line backwards all the way back to Gadadhar Pandit or Advaita or Nityananda or Janava or whoever, Shamananda or whatever. So they have a very accurate Diksha line. So that's one way of tracing the parampara, so that it can be used for that. And of course, then all Sampradayas do have some sort of Diksha. And whether it's the Madhva, the Shris, or Rambarkas, or Vallabhas, they do have a Diksha of some sort. So we can fall in line with other Sampradayas and have Diksha also. We shouldn't eliminate it. And of course, Rupa Goswami in the Nectar Devotion also mentions Diksha Shikshadi as the second principle of 64 Angas. And the first three actually are concerning gurus, to surrender to a guru, to take Diksha and Shiksha, and to serve the guru with great reverence. So he does emphasize gurus, and he also emphasizes the Diksha Guru there by mentioning Diksha and Shiksha. So one reason, of course, for that is that a lot of the rules mentioned of the 64 Angas have to do with deity worship. So we have there the worshipping the deity, bowing down before the deity, circumambulating the deity, touching the deity, doing festivals for the deity, seeing the arti of the deity, etc. So many angas relate to deity worship in 64 angas, so then you would have to take the Diksha for that also. Okay, so that's Diksha Guru. Now, Shiksha Guru. So unlike the Diksha Guru, you could have many Shiksha Gurus, according to the ability of that person to give a certain type of knowledge. For instance, Ramanuja had about 13 gurus. One for Tamil works, one for Vedas, one for logic, different people who are learned in a particular area. So he took them as his gurus also, and he had one Diksha Guru also.